And welcome back, everybody. It is another episode on the Catholic Convert Show. It is finally Friday, and we've got a special guest on today. It's our second guest ever. Would have been one of our first, but we had some scheduling issues. And so, if you don't know who this guy is, you're uncultured swine. All right, I'm just going to leave it like that, right? Our guest today is Vince Martell. He is one of the founding members of Vanilla Fudge, incredible rock band started in the 60s. He's got an incredible story. And quite frankly, I'm impressed that the man is 78 years old, doesn't look a day over 50, and he's still doing gigs. So without getting any more into it, I'm going to go ahead and bring him to the stage. And welcome to the show, Vinny.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jeff. You got it. You and Ed, thanks for what you're doing.
Hey, man, we're only here because we got nothing better to do. Our lives are that boring.
Well, it's good to be here. It's a beautiful day today, I got to say. And the sky is blue, the clouds are white, the trees are blowing in the wind. Thank you, Jesus, for the beautiful world that you gave us. I hope we can keep it as beautiful as he's given it to us.
Amen to that.
Absolutely, man.
So Vinny, I got a couple of questions lined up for you, and this is probably the one that I need answered most. You guys got started, and you were touring with Hendrix. You're doing, you had Zepplin open for you guys, and this is the 60s. You're one of the first American rock bands to get started in the psychedelic rock, and I wasn't born in the 60s. I wasn't born in the 70s, but I do know that the 60s and 70s rock stars that I've met before, which you were of the first, are
Okay, cool.
Have a long history of struggling with the culture of rock and roll music from the 60s and 70s with drugs, alcohol, promiscuity, but you avoided all of that. And I want to ask how that was possible.
Well, actually, I wouldn't say we avoided it, or we kind of got a little involved in some of that stuff, but we kept it down to a dull rule, if I may say so. And we were doing it, they didn't have the hard drugs out. We didn't get any of that hard stuff. And we were doing the light stuff a little bit. And so that's what happened, I guess. If you get into the heavy stuff, it's not good. It will knock you out. Drugs is bad news anyway to start with, unless it's medical drugs or for something like that. But drugs for fun, you got to be careful, because what happens as you get older, if you do a lot of heavy duty drugs when you're younger, it kind of weakens your body. Nobody thinks about this kind of stuff. But you get older, and all of a sudden you start developing this problem and that problem, because your body has been weakened from years ago. Just like if you smoke cigarettes for years, which I did that too, that weakens your lungs and everything. If you don't stop and let your body renew itself, then it can evidently overtake you, as it does many people, and that's why you hear of all the problems today. So that's kind of what we did. We stayed on the lighter side of the heavy stuff, which wasn't in until like after 1970, I think, is when the real Coke and all that kind of stuff came in. The only Coke I've ever done is Coca-Cola. I don't even do that one no more. You put it on your car to lead up the paint on the car. So you got to be careful. You're better off having a ginger ale or something that your kidneys don't have to process the coloration that they put in the Coke. But, you can get hooked on anything in life. So that's why I say get hooked on the Lord, because he promises everlasting life. I mean, how can you beat that? So
yeah, it's certainly a better promise than a temporary high.
Well, that's
but
right. This life is a temporary high in a way. But go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Now when Ed first told me that you guys were good friends, I was like, oh, that would be great. I gotta have him on the show, gotta talk to him. like I said, I've spoken with exactly 0 rock stars, so you are the first.
Oh, thank you.
And
My pleasure.
my wife started looking you up, and she's like, "Wait, I know who this guy is," because my wife's a huge fan of like 60s and 70s music. I like 60s music, but more of like the doo-wop kind of stuff there.
Yeah, the 50 stuff
But my
we
wife
love.
is like, wait, he was on Ed Sullivan. He was on Jimmy Fallon. He was on Huckabee. I'm like, okay, I guess I need to start listening. And then I listened to, You Keep Me Hanging On. I'm like, wait, I know this song. I just never knew the name of the band. So that's how I ended up figuring out who you really were. I was like, I know this song.
Oh, okay, that's cool. It's all publicity. It goes around, and publicity is good. Hopefully, it's all good publicity. But publicity is good. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of mediums that people can pick up information from. Now, especially now with the internet and all that stuff. So it's good to be out there if you're an entertainer, if you're a musician. It's good to let people hear, especially if you have a positive message for them, as opposed to a negative message, which a lot of bands unfortunately get into the negative message because they feel that the negative is the fun. I'm sorry to tell them it ain't like that. If you get into the Lord, everything you love, the Lord has made. Every single thing in your life that you love, the Lord made. Even like I said, with the blue sky and the white clouds, I mean, it's very soothing to the mind and to the eye, and the wind blowing and the birds, you know. We feed the birds. I mean, the birds like to eat too. There's signs all over. Don't feed this, don't feed that. How about let everybody kind of enjoy what the Lord has given them. But I mean, I can go on and on. So go ahead. You ask me some more questions. Otherwise, I'll talk the whole interview from my perspective.
Hey, hey, we can let it go. Hey, I don't know what Ed told you, but this is the worst produced show on the internet right now, and we're proud of it. So this can go in any direction whatsoever. We're very big onto self depreciation, so we can let it roll right down the hill. It's fine.
Okay. All right.
I do want to know. You're 78 years old. How have you? Well, let me rephrase that. What has kept you staying in the industry for as long as you have? Is it just the love of the music, or are you like me and Ed and you got nothing better to do? That's the only reason we're here.
No, I tell you, for me, yes, I do love the music. The music is what I do to relax. So it works out perfect for me. Before we got home from this gig last night after playing the gig, and I end up playing the guitar before I go to sleep. So it's good for my head. It relaxes me. As far as anything better, I have a lot of other things to do actually, but I kind of try to put the music first because that's what I love to do. And I've done different jobs in life, and I was in the Navy, I was in the human crisis actually, and in 1962. So, we saw the world at the brink of war at that point, and unfortunately, whatever, for what's going on in the country, where it looks like we're kind of heading down that kind of a path again. And it talks about, in the Bible, talks about the time of the end. It is the time of the end, I believe, because things have culminated to such a point that it's going to go in one direction or another. And either you have to talk peace among everybody, otherwise they're all making weapons and all this kind of stuff. And what is the ultimate goal? Destruction. Something that's like, what can man do? Man can destroy. Who creates? The Lord creates. Get into the Lord. He's the creator. He made everything that we love. And I'm talking about everything. I don't care what it is. Eating, sleeping, your wife, your eyes, you could see from the moon to thousands of miles away. Then you could look at your nail and see if it's growing too long. I mean, things you cannot buy. So, I don't know if I'm answering your question. Give me the original question. Like I said, I get I'm enthralled with what the Lord has created.
And I was just wondering what keeps you going, man. Well, like, why haven't I don't know if I want to be doing anything at all when I'm 78. I would rather retire and be that grumpy old curmudgeon like Ed over there.
Well, let's say you're retired. What do? You go to class, and you still got to get up the next day. You got to make you want to get up and do stuff. So for me, it's performing. I love to perform. I love talking to the people, uh, singing, playing. In fact, the next time if I do the show again, maybe I'll do some playing the guitar and do a little singing for you guys. But I just came out with
That would be great.
right, yeah, yeah, okay, good. I wasn't able to set it up for today because, like I say, we got in very late. Uh, and I'm doing a church gig. We have a church, and we do all kinds of gigs. We did a gig last night in uh, uh, Maywood, New Jersey, with the Maywood Inn. A good friend of mine, Billy Killer, a keyboard player, set up the thing. We had about 9 people in the band. It was wonderful. And now we're doing something at a church coming up. In fact, I'll send you guys the poster as soon as I can. Ed, I can send it to you. We're doing that church again in Washington Township. Remember that one that we
Yeah.
did? We're doing that again. That's next Friday.
Oh, I
A
remember
week
that.
from
Yeah.
today. A week from tonight.
Is
From today.
is that? Yeah. And then you're doing something this weekend at your church, right, Vin?
That's
Ed, we're losing your sound a little bit there, man.
Peter and Paul. It's called the name of the church. Washington Township, New Jersey. We're doing that next Friday night. Me, Peg, and Steve Nemeth. He's a retired school teacher. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh,
Yep,
I think
we
the
got you,
microphone
Vin.
got covered again.
Yeah, I'll put it closer. Yeah, Steve Nemeth, a good friend of mine who's a retired school teacher. He's been playing all his life, and he has. So we ended up doing Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And my wife, Peg Pearl, is a great singer, and we just did. Me and Peg just recorded an original song called "The Brotherhood of Jesus Christ," and it's an original song that and one of the featured guests playing on it is a fellow named Robbie Robinson, who was Frankie Valli's music director for 46 years, something like that. Great keyboard player, like Mark Stein from the Vanilla Fudge, B3 player. This guy is just fantastic. He's got a show, by the way, if anybody wants to catch it. He's on the internet every Monday night in Eastern Time, 10 p.m. till 12 midnight. And it's called Jam and Java. You got to spell it JAM apostrophe N and then JAVA, like coffee. Jam and Java. And Frankie Down, he's good friends with Tony Orlando from Dawn, Joey D from Joey D and the Starlighters. I mean, a lot of people. This guy knows a lot of people in the business. He backed up Tom Jones, everybody. Anyway, I got him to play B3 on our Brotherhood of Jesus Christ. Strong believer, and so that's what's going on. I'm doing gigs, and I love to do them. That's really what I live for, is playing music and singing. So that's what keeps me going. And the promise the Lord has of living forever. I mean, this one we're all passing through. This one's flying by. And if you're not a believer, then you don't believe you're going to see nobody later, right? You're not going to see your folks, your relatives, your pets. If you have a husband or wife who passed away, you're not a believer. What are you looking forward to? Nothing. I mean, why do that one? What does the Lord talks about? You'll see everybody again. By the way, there's a thing called um, uh, uh, Mighty Oracle. Mighty Oracle. Check that out on your internet, on your phone, and it's pictures of heaven, and it is beautiful. Just check it out. Mighty Oracle. A friend of mine turned me on to it, and it's really something. You got to see what it looks like in heaven. I don't know if it's an artist concept or the producers came up with it, or they were probably divinely inspired, or whatever. But anyway, go ahead. That next question.
No, I was just going to say it makes sense that, because you always hear those stories when people retire, they're usually gone within a few years after that. It's, a body in motion stays in motion. But when you were coming up, and, I was reading that you didn't really discover your love for the guitar until you were in the Navy. Was that, was it just on a whim that I was in the Army, and it feels like every guy knows at least one guy with a guitar in basic training. And I don't know if that's what it was like for you. You just picked up a guitar because you had nothing to do for a little while. And then thing you're on stage.
Oh, no, listen, but back that up for a second. You said that you read that I didn't like the guitar, or I didn't get it started until I was about 10 years old on a whim, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it wasn't nothing like that. Where did you read that? Where did that come up?
That was my poor research on your Wikipedia page.
Oh, I guess just some of that Wikipedia stuff isn't correct. But no, what happened with me is, I'm an Italian guy from the Bronx, New York.
I would have never guessed you were Italian.
It's funny. I have a joke like that about that, but Queen, but it's funny. Either way, but no, what happened is I grew up in the Bronx. I'm from an Italian family, a big family, very big. My mother's family, there was 5 kids in my mother's family, and there was 4 in my father's family, and 1 passed away early on. But and then they all had kids. So when my folks had me and my 2 of us, there was the other relatives were having kids, so there ended up being a huge family. But everybody on my mother's side played guitar or mandolin, and my father played a little violin and guitar. So when there was a family get together, and some of these get-togethers in the Bronx was like they had a farm. Some of my relatives had a farm in the middle of like the tenements. It was crazy. There's a block that was like you're at down south. A plantation house with a porch all the way around the whole house, 2 floors, farm animals in the yard, trees and stuff. They would grow vegetables and this and that. And I had the wooden fence from the inside looking out. It was a wooden fence. From the outside, you saw posters and all kinds of crazy stuff that you see on these fences. But inside this yard, it had a sink. Everybody would get together, have macaroni and eat, and a lot of food, great food. And near Arthur Avenue, any listeners out there familiar with Arthur Avenue or the Bronx 187th Street, Crotona Avenue area, Mount Carmel Church there. It was in the Bronx Tale, that movie that shows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when De Niro's driving past to see the church Mount Carmel, I've been to weddings and funerals with my family over there. I know that whole area. And my father really knows. He grew up there. We used to visit my grandmother. Arthur Avenue has all kinds of food.
We're losing your sound again there, Vinny.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think it's how far you are from the mic. I think it's maybe the mic is covered. And we lost him. It's that Bronx Wi-Fi, I guess.
What happened?
I don't know. He just dropped out. It's
Well, he's not in the Bronx now. He's down in South.
He's down south.
He'll be back. No, but he lives down in South Jersey. He'll figure it out. He'll be back.
Oh, okay. So he's not far from you.
Until then,
got it.
No, he's not.
No.
In fact, I
was getting ready to lead up to the question because he said he was there during the Cuban Missile Crisis in the Navy. I wanted to ask him about that. I don't think I've ever met anyone who was there. Yeah. All right, this is going to be we'll answer the phone, man. Stop showing me. Answer the phone.
Ben, how you doing, Ben?
I don't know what happened. The phone went off. Peg's phone stopped. pitch, everything changed. It says create an account. I don't know how to do that. She's got to set it up for me. So you want to just continue? Can we continue on the phone at this point?
Well, ask Jeff.
Hey,
Jeff, can we continue on the phone?
Yeah. The audio is great. I can hear him great. Can he hear me?
Okay, good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
All
let's go for it, man.
All right. So should
Perfect.
I just continue?
We'll do it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll just add your picture up there. So there he is talking.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So tell me when I should continue.
Oh, go ahead, Vin. You're all set.
Go ahead.
Yep.
All right. So anyway, so everybody played music in my family when we would get together. Like on Christmases, Christmas Eve would be all night music, food, and playing cards. But basically, music was going like by somebody was playing something all night. So I grew up at a very early age hearing and thinking that everybody did this when I was a kid. I thought everybody played music. So then when my mother actually started me on a ukulele when I was, I don't know, 5 or something like that, 6. And then I graduated to guitar, and then I took some guitar lessons, which actually I found a little bit boring, but you have to start out, and sometimes things are boring when you start. But sometimes it's the teacher. You get the situation, which can appear not or as interesting as you might have thought. But either way, I was learning, excuse me, I was learning chords and scales and stuff like that up in the Bronx and Hillside. But Vinny's guitar music lessons or something like that, which was the name of this place. And then I graduated to, and then there was this guy, Harry Volpe, in New York City, that supposedly, if you got a chance to learn from him, don't say no, just go do it, because this guy was like well known. I guess he was a session guy. I mean, my folks knew more than I did about why this guy was well known, but he was very good. He showed me more scales and chords, and so I was learning all this stuff. Then I got, can you hear me good?
Yeah, we're good, man.
Yeah, we can hear you fine, man.
And then after that, I got this other teacher, which was really good. But he was from the Bronx, and he was from my father knew him, and they knew some of the same people. And this guy come over to the house. I didn't have to go out for lessons. This guy came over to the house, and he was showing me songs. And they had what they called a fake book back then, a big book that had all these songs that you weren't supposed to have, because the original writers of the songs wouldn't be getting paid or something. But this is what was circulating in the black market, so to speak, or underground, whatever it is. And so I had, learned a lot of songs. And then by the time I was about 16, I decided, and it got to the point where the guy would give me a lesson, like a half-hour lesson for whatever it was, $10 or something like that, maybe. And then he would leave, and I didn't even practice all week until he was coming over next Saturday. And then I practiced a lesson before he showed up, and I'd played a lesson when he came over, and then he'd give me another. So finally I got to the point, I said to my folks, I don't want to waste the money no more, because I'm going to lay off this. But by the meantime, I had a big background going without realizing it, subconsciously, I guess. And then I went into the Navy. And but that's how it started. It was my relatives all played music and sang, and at Christmases and get-togethers, everybody would sing. My father had a bunch of butcher friends of his. He was a butcher. It's a great butcher. My father came over from Italy in World War I, and the Germans were sinking 50% of the ships. They wanted to get out of Italy. I don't know if it was because of Mussolini or was happening at that point, but they wanted to get out of Italy. So all the relatives took a chance, got on a ship, and 50% chance you'd make it across the ocean. They got on it. Meantime, my father was 5 years old, and he's from northern Italy, blonde hair, blue eyes, and he was like the mascot on the ship, I guess, because he found this all interesting and thrilling, and he became a very wise, streetwise guy, so a streetwise person, because at an early age, he's on the ship, and he learned to speak English besides Italian, so he had the 2 languages going. Everybody liked him. And he ended up being such a good businessman that in the Depression, he had his own butcher shop. where everybody's being laid off work and the depression. My father owns his own butcher shop. And he was like the king of the family. It was really, and everybody respected him, even, the bad guys, the mob guys and all this kind of stuff, because some of them wanted him to get involved in that, and he didn't want to, but they all respected him. They all knew him. And he had some, I guess, heavy connections going too. But anyway, so he, he played the guitar a little bit and the mandolin, and the violin. And that's what it was. It was all party time growing up with the music. So that's what got me going into it. And I developed a love for it. Then when I was in the Navy and on the ship, one of the guys bought an electric guitar and a small amp and brought it to the ship. So I asked him if I could play. And once he heard me play, he says, "Hey, man," he says, "you can play whenever you want. Just take the guitar and plug it in and play." So I was playing the guitar on a ship, then meet a couple other guys. Well, I'm rushing ahead. Now I'm into the Navy stuff. But that's basically how it started. So,
all right, so you had your entire family was just musically talented. So it was probably inevitable that you were going to end up playing professionally at some point.
Well, also my sister became a classical pianist. She could play Liberace and all this kind of big deal, ritual fire dance, Claire de Lune, minute waltz, polonaise, all kinds of. She would learn. She was a couple of years older than me. We used to drive her to the music lessons. The lady was Damiani, Mrs. Damiani, up in another part of the Bronx. And that's when the Bronx was nice. They still had trees there and like that. Now it's like they're cutting all the trees down. I mean, we needed to talk about global warming. How about like leaving the healthy trees up? Maybe it's important, let alone shade, birds and like it. It's, keeps the soil strong, the roots. Anyway, so we would drive her, and she would do these music lessons once a week. And then she took lessons from Lou White, the guy that wrote Deep Purple, down in New York City, and on organ. Now she was playing B3 organ. So, but she is a classical, beautiful player. Relatives would come over, and me and my sister would have to play for them, and they would love it. But she could get into these heavy piano classical pieces, and she just does it for herself. She did some teaching, but she doesn't like to perform in front of people. Me, I'm different. I like to perform in front of people, and so yeah, musical family, definitely. And then I didn't finish telling you about my guitar teacher, George Morone, but you guys go ahead and ask me some questions. I could just keep talking sometimes.
Hey, you're the star of the show right now. It's fine.
Vin, I love your stories, brother. You know that.
Well, I could talk and talk. Let me tell you, I could keep on talking sometimes. And that's what happens is get into an interview and get off on one of the.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I've got your picture. I know you're called in right now, but I've got your picture pulled up on the screen so everybody just sees your face, and I've got the name there. And I could listen. I mean this with the utmost respect ever. I could change the picture to Joe Pesci, and nobody would know the difference.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah, he sounds like me. I know that. Well, I don't know if he.
Oh, you don't sound like him. He sounds like you. I like that.
I'll tell you one thing. He was in a band with Joey D and the Starlighters, and he was, I believe, he was before Jimi Hendrix ended up in that band too.
Really?
And a couple of the Rascals were in that band. Yeah, Joey D and the Starlighters, and Joe Pesci was a guitar player from New York. So one preceded the other. I think Joe Pesci and then Hendrix became the next guitar player for him.
That's crazy.
Which is an interesting little tidbit of information there.
I know that Pesci got slightly mobbed up when he was running around with Frankie Valli before they actually had the name The Four Seasons.
Could be. Back then it was like sometimes that's what was happening. But that's, part of the thing. The thing is, you don't want to get so into the mobbed up stuff where you get suckered into it, and then next thing you have trouble getting out of it. I knew this guy, brother Frank Benucci, who's since passed away. You ever see Carlito's Way, right? You saw that movie?
Yeah.
Carlito's Way. Remember Tony T in a movie? The guy was in prison at Sean Penn, was the lawyer, was trying to, and he said he wanted to get. Well, that guy, I met him at a church up in Paramus, New Jersey, when he was speaking. He became a man of God. This guy was a real heavy. This guy was a mob enforcer, and he was in the Hells Angels for a while. He was a leader of the Nomads at another point, and this guy gave his life up to the Lord because he had 3 heart attacks or 4 heart attacks or something like that. But when he had a heart attack and he died from it, and he thought that Jesus and all this Christian stuff and all, it was fairy tales. That's what he used to think. It was all fairy tales because he grew up in a rough situation. His situation, his father was a New York mob guy. Was in one of the families in New York. His mother was from the O'Banion family in Chicago. And in fact, when you see Carlito's Way and you see, what's the actor, that guy, that's the main guy in there, what's his name? You know what I'm talking about? The main actor in Carlito's Way.
Yeah, do you remember, Jeff?
Who?
No, I don't
I know what
remember.
you're talking about. I know you're talking about. I just can't think of his name right now.
Yeah. Who'd you say, Ed?
No, I didn't say. I can't remember either, Vin.
I got. I'm not outside of my yard. I don't have my notes in front of me,
no
but,
problem.
Are we talking about Pacino or?
Yeah.
Al
Pacino. Al Pacino.
Because there was a couple in there that wasn't.
And remember his wife, the beautiful blonde lady, just taller than him. That's how Brother Frank Minucci's mother and father were like. The father was like a short guy, heavy duty mob guy, and the wife was from the other family, and they didn't want kids. So when Brother Frank Minucci was born, they didn't want him and his sister, so they put them in orphan homes. This guy grew up in 13 orphan homes, and he wanted to be like his father because he loved the I guess the atmosphere of the tough mood stuff going on and all that stuff. He wanted to be like his father was. So he grew up, in 13 orphan homes, and he became a guy that got into the mob, but he was half Irish, so he couldn't really be a made guy, so to speak. But he ended up, he had an after hours club, like I say, became a mob enforcer, and he thought it was all fairy tales, Jesus, until he had his heart attack, and then he was like, he's got a book out, and I should get you a copy of the book.
Yeah, that'd be great,
out.
man. That'd be great.
Good, I'll be able to do that. So he died. Now he was in the air, and he didn't know where he was, or he felt warm air like from a hairdryer blowing on him. It felt like this beautiful feeling, and then he saw like these demons coming up and trying to grab his feet, and grab his legs, and all this kind of stuff. And then he saw, and I'm flying through this. You got to read in this book. There's a lot more detail than what I'm telling you right now. But anyway, then he sees an angel comes down, and the angel claps his hands, and it's like a thunder, and the demon took off. Huh. And that was like the battle between good and bad that happened to him. And then he saw Jesus. He saw the sandals. And this, anyway, make a long story short, this happened. This guy died a few times from the heart attacks. Anyway, he changed, and he got out of, and how do you do that one? He got out of the mob. He got out of it. And, you know, it's very hard, they say, to get out of it. Because once you're in, but he's one of those guys that nobody came after him, because if he found out you were coming after him, you had problems. And so nobody wanted to be, I guess that's what happened, why they didn't. But he became a minister. He was a heavy duty minister. I wrote one of the forwards in his book. They asked me, the guy that was doing his book, that they redid it in paperback. And I talked about how I met him in the church. Me and my wife met him and his wife. We ended up, he was in South Jersey. He lived over here. So we would end up going out and go to the diner and have something to eat, or go and have Italian food with his family. It's a wonderful man. Heavy connections. He was good friends with Al Pacino. Wow. And he had, he met De Niro. He met all these guys. They wanted him to be in The Sopranos before they got Gandolfini. They asked this guy like 4 times to be in it. He would have become a multimillionaire, but he didn't want to do it because after he did the Carlito's Way movie, they almost threw him out of the minister. The church almost got rid of him because you're not supposed to, you can't get back into that cursing and all that kind of stuff like that he was originally doing. What he was living that life, and then he in the movie, and that's what they wanted him to do in the movie. There's a lot of things in life can grab you and get you into the wrong direction. If you don't have your mind on the Lord and what the purpose is why you're here and you're passing through, and this is temporary and this is the preliminaries. Then you're just trying to get to the top of the heap over here, and that's why a lot of people they'll get into that mob stuff or something. You want to become, you want to do something here. This ain't the whole ball of wax, so to speak. This isn't the end of the rainbow. So this is the test. That's my interpretation of what's going on. This is a test. Get through this one, and then you can get the living forever one, which the Lord talks about never ending, So right below that, this one flies by anyway. This one you can grab. This is an imperfect world we're living in. I don't have to tell you guys.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. Like I said, I'm yapping away. Go ahead.
No, Vin, I told you, man. I mean, I love hearing your stories. I remember a couple of times you and I have gotten together, had dinner and stuff like that, and I'll sit back and just listen to you for hours. Your life is pretty much better than any movie I've ever seen. I will tell you that right now.
Wow, that's great. Well, you read my book, right?
Absolutely.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Did you hear it? Did you read it? You did?
I have read it.
I got this one guy in California, this movie director that was interested in doing a movie on me. And we were talking about it around Christmas time, and I have to get a hold of him again. I guess in like any business, you get sidetracked and you do. Yeah. So now I got to, get after him to see does he really want to do it? Because
Vin,
I'd love to do it.
It would be a phenomenal movie. And if you don't mind, Vin, if you could somehow talk to him, and if I could get like a little cameo part in that would be awesome. I'd really appreciate
it. Hey, that's nepotism. All right. Well, I think.
Then I'll see you. Who I can get in there.
But Vin, I think a perfect opening scene would be you as a little boy when you were when you got like a meatball sandwich from your grandma, was it? And
I'll tell you that one. You want to hear that?
Yeah, please. I love that story.
Yeah, what happened is we all lived on Eli Avenue up in the Bronx, off Boston Post Road, northeast section of the Bronx. And it was nice then. There was trees and the woods, or play in the woods. It was groovy. It wasn't all packed up with houses and all that stuff there. But anyway, so my grandmother lived across the street. My grandfather was a big deal builder, and he built houses. He built 4 houses on Eli Avenue. He was one of the guys that put together the cloisters. If you're not familiar with the cloisters, then it's like a monastery. And if you're coming over to George Washington Bridge from Jersey into New York, and you look off to your left, unless it's the summertime and with the trees, maybe it's harder to see. But in the wintertime, and there's not a lot of buds on the trees, you can see this big, looks like a fortress up on a mountain around University Heights area of the Bronx. Just as you're coming over to Washington Bridge, look off to your left and you'll see this castle-looking thing. Anyway, he was one of the builders for that. He built churches. He built the down right on Avenue in the Bronx. And so my grandmother's making meatballs one Saturday or Sunday or whatever it was. And so I'm over there. I'm, a young guy. I don't know how old I was, 10 or 8 or something like that. Probably not 10, probably earlier than that. And she puts together this beautiful meatball sandwich, gravy, meatballs, big Italian hero sandwich. So I come out of the house, I'm going to my house across the street where we lived that my grandfather built. And up come from the street, when you don't see this no more, is a pack of dogs running up the street. So you got to be careful. Dogs, forget about it. They don't get on the wrong side of a dog that don't know you. If it's a big dog and he's hungry, they come running up to me, all these dogs, and surround me and barking, and I'm scared as anything. I got the sandwich up in the air. I didn't realize they were after the sandwich. I thought they were after me. finally, it dawned on me the sandwich. So because wherever my hand went with the sandwich, they were looking at it. So I threw the sandwich, which I hated to do. It was a great sandwich. I just started eating the sandwich. I had to throw the sandwich. All the dogs went for the sandwich. I took off, went across the street, got into the house. I guess I forgot about it, but that was scary. So that gave me a healthy respect for the animal kingdom, especially if they're hungry dogs. But that was a beautiful sandwich. I still love the meatball sandwich today. Thank you, Grandma Rosie.
but Vin, you see what I'm saying, right? Wouldn't that be a great opening scene for the movie?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty wild. A lot of fun. I had a lot of fun growing up. On my street, we had it wasn't a gang like you see in the movies and going to beat people. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was what happened is across the street at my grandfather's house, and he built this house. When they sold it to a guy, an English guy that was married to a Jamaican woman they came over from Jamaica. And there was 5 brothers with the kids. And one of them, a friend of mine who unfortunately just passed away, maybe 4 months ago, 5 months ago now, fell down the stairs. I mean, I don't know how he did. This guy could climb trees. The whole family. These guys were the best climbers, the fastest runners. And it was like a gang. It was 5 brothers. So we didn't have to worry about nobody messed around with us on our block. We're always hanging around with these guys. And you don't want to get on the wrong side of them because each brother gets more angry than the one before. So if somebody starts trouble, now you got to deal with this guy. And then after that, you got to deal with that guy. Anyway, we had we were called the Bronx Bombers. Not that we made a big deal out of it, but we were into hot rods and cars. And this guy, Rupert, one of the brothers, had this 56 Ford Fairlane, 2-door hardtop. It looks like it has a chop top. Beautiful car. Yeah. Skirts, Mercury skirts on the back, spinners, Hollywood steel pack mufflers. You know how cool a V8 engine sounds when you're shifting and you got steel pack mufflers on it? Glass packs also. Yeah. They just sound beautiful. When you're shifting, you get that boom, 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 while you're going through the gears. Oh, man. So we would ride in that and go up and get Carvel at Hillside in the town. And just riding in that car, 2-door hardtop, the windows down. Oh, man, I'm telling you. So that was the start of it. And then a bunch of guys got into the hot rod stuff. Then I went into the Navy. Good stuff, though.
So a
great childhood. All right, ask me something else. Otherwise, I'll keep talking.
So, Vinny, all right. So you're growing up Italian. You're in the Bronx. You've got all these different pressured elements around. Obviously, you've got some of the mob around. You've got the mini mob wannabe guys around kind of doing the same thing. There's influences everywhere there in your neighborhood growing up. And then you get into the Navy. After the Navy, you're in the music industry. So you had even more kind of pressures for all kinds of, debauchery and depravity, especially going on around you, whether, touring with Hendrix, hitting Woodstock, all these different things. And then, the music industry is kind of renowned for being just as depraved in general as Hollywood. So how hard was it for you during your time coming up with the Vanilla Fudge, with, the other side bands and projects, and even your solo projects you did, going through all of that? How hard was it for you to maintain integrity to being a faithful Catholic?
Oh, well, I always felt close to the Lord because my mother, God rest her soul, I had the best mother in the world. She would, I had toys.
Every Italian says that, but
I mean, I really did. I mean, everybody loves their mother. My mother was like, she was my buddy. If I played hooky, which I didn't a lot, she wouldn't tell my father. I mean, that kind of stuff was very cool. Hold on 1 second, guys.
Yeah.
Like
the man's mom wouldn't even tell on him for playing hooky.
So let me finish the story. So what happened is, so I had this great childhood, and I grew up with I lost my train of thought. Hold on a second. Back up. We're talking about how did I maintain, right? How did I maintain?
Yeah, how did you maintain being a
being
faithful Catholic through, the influences in the neighborhood and then later in the music industry?
Church every Sunday we'd go to the 9:00 children's mass down in at the Nativity Church in the Bronx near Mount Vernon, which is near the Westchester County line, going up towards getting out of the Bronx, and then you become to Westchester County and that stuff. Then it's much more countrified up there, but this is still the Bronx. And I used to go to a catechism class. I guess we had it on Tuesday from PS 68, the school that I went to. At that point, they would march all the kids down. I was Catholic to go down to the church for catechism on Tuesday or something for a half hour or an hour or whatever it was. But my mother was very good, and she brought me up to respect the Lord and, to do the right thing. And so that kept me always in my mind. So I wouldn't let myself get too off the deep end, even in the crazy times, because, like one time we were doing LSD, right? And somebody, had laced it up with some kind of STP. And so there's these different chemicals that they put in that can really space your head out. You got to be careful with that because some people flip out and don't come back. And there's a couple of them. You remember the group, the Moby Grape? Remember that band?
I've heard of them.
Okay. Well, one of the guys in that band flipped out and ended up in Bellevue in New York. This is a California band. And I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to get too into their personal thing, but that's what happens to some people. LSD, you got to be very careful because it can flip you out. And I saw when I did it, I was seeing gargoyles and stuff on top of buildings. And I'm in California where there was no buildings, but to me, this was actually this is what I saw. And there was a lack of God. There was no God, and if there's no God, there's no love. And if there's no God and no love, it is lousy to be in that kind of a situation, predicament. You got to hope that there is something that you can hold on to, because the average person doesn't realize, the spirit world is, I believe, much more vast than the actual world we see here. It's much broader, there's much more to it. And thank God I had a cross around my neck, which I try to wear all the time, at least most of the time I wear it. And I held on to it. And I was saying the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer. I had to keep some kind of a hold to the Lord close because I could have flipped out. I felt I could have. And I'm with a bunch of strange people who did a gig someplace, who were going to some party afterwards. And I don't know who these people were. And they didn't see nothing that I was seeing. And I saw a bunch of scary stuff, man. And I'm telling you. And that, I didn't do a lot of LSD. I did it a handful of times. I had 2 kind of bummer experiences, and then I had 2 that I was able to get past. And I said, that's it. 2 down, 2 positive. I'm leaving it alone. I'm not going here because some people, I know some people that would get into that stuff and they would actually have meetings with other people, like spirit beings. They would all meet someplace. This guy did 300 acid trips or something. So it depends. There's a lot going on that it's like your upbringing affects how you look at things and how you react. And this guy grew up in an apartment complex, and that was his spectrum. This is my interpretation. What happened with this guy? His perspective was such that this was an out for him, a release for him that he enjoyed doing. For me, I had a very good, free, wonderful growing up. So this stuff kind of guided me into a negative direction, and that's what I did not want to do. And I realized that drugs is not the answer. You can't do that stuff if you expect to keep your head together. And you don't want to lose out on the perspective that the Lord talks about, of living forever and that kind of stuff. You don't want to forget that, because if you don't believe in, like I said earlier on, I guess in the interview, if you don't believe in that there's something truthful what the Lord is talking about, then what are you looking forward to? Nothing? All the atheists don't believe in anything. Okay, good. What's their future going to be? In their mind, nothing. Okay, you want to settle for that? I'd rather settle for everything that I love going on forever. I did the traveling I did in the world. I went to Europe a bunch of times, I guess now. And Japan, we played a couple of times, and we played in South Korea. And I'm just getting started, that's how I feel. And time is flying by faster than I can. I'd like to play music in every part of the world. So the only way I could do that is if I'm here longer than this life allows me to be. So the Lord talks about that. That's what Jesus talks about. It's all beautiful stuff. Psalms, all these beautiful, Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth. Bible. And that's what it is. The Lord gives us wonderful things, pets, animals. Please be kind to the animals, everybody out there. They're like us. They have emotions, feelings. They have their kids that they love. The birds feed their babies. The Lord made all different kind of things, the sea creatures, everything. But don't just take advantage. I mean, there's too much suffering going on in the world. It's like, I'm not a total vegetarian. I'm not, trying to say I'm Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. I'm just saying that, let's respect the animal kingdom and everything the Lord has given us. The plants, the fresh air. Forget this bomb stuff. They're making bombs that'll poison the air and you can't breathe. Who decided that? Or the gain of function. Why are they doing that? That's like poisoning. Let's get some bad stuff and put it together and see if we can make it worse. That's what I'm saying. See, man is good at destroying and breaking things down. The Lord is good at creating things. So I did with the Lord. So that's why I had a great upbringing. My mother was just a fantastic woman. She ended up with 3 master's degrees. She was a school teacher. And I did school teaching for 1 year. And I found it very satisfying. I got a little girl who had never talked. I was working at Bose's in York County, New York, for 1 year. This little girl who never talked. Got her at the end of the year. She sang "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" to everybody in the library. Their minds were blown. Another kid who was autistic, or nobody paid too much attention to this guy. I showed him some Beatle chords on the guitar. This guy picked up the Beatles songs faster than anybody I ever saw. He was singing and playing Beatles songs. They looked at him different. So very satisfying to be a teacher, and you could really help out. Another little girl wanted to play, and her father didn't want her to play the guitar. I had to talk to the father. I mean, this girl went through changes. She was trying to, wanted to play music, and her father was against it. He wanted her to do something else. But so I don't know, the moral of the story. Let's do what the Lord, follow your heart, and plus, and another thing, for the people that are into the mob stuff, I got a cousin that was in one of the families in New York. We went to family get-togethers. We're at the bar talking, and he's looking over his shoulder constantly, and I'm starting to think, what is he expecting? Somebody's going to run in and start shooting. I'm talking to this guy over here at the bar. Nobody's around. It's not good. So that's the problem with the mob stuff. You got to watch your back all the time. So that's not the best thing to get into. Anyway, go ahead. You guys are
No,
up.
that's great. The what I took from that is you had a great set of parents that raised you right, and that foundation they built for you carried you all the way through it, man. But look, I definitely want to have you on again, because I think there's like 1,000 more hours worth of stories that we could go down. And I don't go up there often, but cool. but many times I got to drive up to New York because my son lives in Buffalo. So if I'm ever passing through there, I'm going to try to. The Fudge
manager lives in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, the Fudge management guy lives up in Buffalo. Bruce Pilato.
Nice.
Good guy. Yeah, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah, okay. So when you got to drive up to New York.
I start heading up that way. I'll try to stop and see both you and Ed in person.
I'll take the both of you guys out to a good Italian restaurant.
Well, where do you live originally, Jeff?
I'm down here in South Carolina.
Where are you?
Down here in
He's in South Carolina, Ben.
Oh, South Carolina. Okay. Yeah, okay, good. If you're coming up this way, well, we're in South Jersey. Ed lives, I guess we're in South Carolina. We're close. Come up, give us a couple of weeks notice, and yeah, let's all go out and have something to eat. That's cool. But bring the recorder if you want.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm definitely recording that.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. It's been fun talking to you guys. Yeah, thanks a lot for the opportunity. And
it's been great. Yeah, Ben, we didn't even
go ahead.
We got to talk about, your days back in Key West playing with Ricky T and the Saints. We had to talk about the electric pigeons, how they became the pigeons and then they became Vanilla Fudge. And a lot of people don't know this. Deep Purple, and everyone knows the band Deep Purple. Those guys wanted to be a clone of Vanilla Fudge. They wanted to be just like you guys. They looked up to you guys. I mean, and all the stories you got about like Hendrix and all that. I mean, we could have you on a dozen times.
Yeah. Oh, there was a lot of them. Led Zepplin. Robert Plant said in his interview on it when they first had their thing on the internet, said, we wanted to be everything the Vanilla Fudge, something like that. We wanted to be, they wanted to be like Vanilla Fudge too, Led Zeppelin. Yeah. But they opened for us. So we went up, we talked to Robert Plant, me, and I think it was Mark Stein when they came over from England the first time. He brought a bunch of records. He wanted us to come up to the hotel and he'd show us all the records that they brought over from England and he had a Victrola, a little record player. And we were telling him to move. He should move more on stage. He was just standing there. And that kind of stuff.
So you were coaching Robert Plant on his stage presence. That's awesome. Well, listen, Vince, man, we're definitely going to want to have you back on.
A bunch of stuff out, Concerts West, out in the west coast of the U.S. And there's posters floating around. You see them on Facebook and stuff of, Vanilla Fudge, and then Led Zeppelin. One of them, they spelled their name wrong. They spelled Led Zeppelin different. I should get these posters together and put them in one spot so everybody could see it. It was very cool. Very cool days. Great management we had in the old days.
Yeah, man.
Heavy management,
I would love to hear.
Talking about connected guys, the good fellas. We knew all them guys. We knew the real guys. Big Paulie, Henry Hill, all those cats, man. That was our management's guys. So
we're definitely going to have you back on.
No to the manager. Nobody would say no. We were headlining everything. That was a great band. Had a great producer, George Shadow Morton, the Shangri-La's leader of the pack, Janissi, and great producers. You look him up, George Shadow Morton, all the stuff he did. He's the guy that helped really put us together on that first album. He arranged the songs, and he just a great, great producer. Unfortunately, passed away too. So we're all in the Long Island Music Hall of Fame together.
Yep.
But anyway, let's do it. Come up. Give us a couple of week notice is probably what I would need at least so I can plan on it.
We'll do it, man.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We're going to have. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, we're going to have to go ahead and cut it here because we're running out of time. We got about 90 seconds left of space left on the slot. But Vince, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was great to meet you. Great to listen to the stories. And I look forward to doing it again.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Let me end with a Bible scripture, if I may. Can I do that?
If you could run it through in 90 seconds or less.
Oh, of course, yeah. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9, the eye hasn't seen, the ear hasn't heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man the promises God has for those who love them, who love him. And that's, I said that on the Mike Huckabee show. If anybody wants to see that, just put in Huckabee's Jukebox, Vince Martell. And then Luke 137, that nothing shall be impossible for God. And then a real heavy one, which is 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, which says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, I'll forgive their sin, and I'll heal their land. We need healing in the USA, people. So why not? Let's put it in God's hands and let's give them a shot and try it. So that's 3 sayings over there that I have memorized. So
all right,
again,
that's perfect, Vince.
God bless you.
Thanks for watching. Yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. the amazing Vince Martell. We're definitely going to have him back because there's a ton more stories we can listen to. But that's going to do it for today's episode of the Catholic Convert Show. God bless you all, and we will see you Monday.